Tzadi Daled Amud Aleph. This is the Amud for the third day of Chodesh Shvat, and we are holding towards the top of the Amud, where the Gemara has is introducing a conversation about distances versus time traveled. Says the Gemara on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth line from the top of the Amud. First word on the line, Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught as follows: Haya Omed Chutz L'Modian, if a person was standing outside of the Modian, meaning outside of that circumference, outside of Yerushalayim, V'yachal Lechanas B'susim Uve Pradim, and a person has horses and mules, meaning you have a car. Yachal Yeh Chayiv. Are you chayiv? Meaning, is that called derech hachoika? Is derech hachoika measured in distance, or is derech hachoika measured in time? Meaning, assuming that we're talking about the average length of a person being able to walk, so chutz l'modian is the walking speed of a person. But if you have another way of getting there, would we then say no? That's a question of time, not a question of distance. Talmud Laimar, the pasuk says, "Uve derech lehaya," that anybody is that. The exemption for Pesach Rishon and the Chiyuv of Pesach Sheni is anybody that is b'derech lehaya is for anybody that was not on a derech, they would be chayiv. This person is on a derech, even if he has another way of getting there. B'derech lehaya means that this is a question of distance, not a question of time. What happens if a person was standing inside of the Medin, meaning inside of that circumference of the area around Yerushalayim that we are going to define as not rechaika? But has another reason that they aren't able to get it, meaning they are standing within that circumference of Yerushalayim, but they're stuck back-to-back traffic. Back-to-back traffic. There's gemalim and kronos and ma'akvas. There's camels and wagons that are holding them up. There's no way of getting in because of all the traffic. Maybe he's not chayiv, meaning he's not chayiv kares, he's not chayiv to make it to Yerushalayim to bring his Korban Pesach. Talmud Lema, the pasuk says, "Uve derech lehaya." Once again, that limud v'derech lehaya, he was not on a road. V'harei lehaya b'derech. This guy was not on the road. What should he have done? L'chara, what that means is that if you are within walking distance of Yerushalayim, you park your car on the side of the highway and you walk. Meaning you are within walking distance of Yerushalayim, and assuming that you can walk. If you're not able to walk, by the way, then you wouldn't be chayiv. One, because of onus, and also because of the relationship, at least ostensibly, between Olis Re'iyah and Olis Re'iyah and Korban Pesach, that a person that's not able to bring Olis Re'iyah, meaning is blind or is lame, or he is ill, in some way or another, wouldn't be able to get up to Yerushalayim. So this fellow that would not be able to get up to Yerushalayim would be parted from Korban Pesach as well. But a person that is healthy and is able to walk and didn't park their car on the side of the road, and he was on the derech, right? Meaning he was on the road to Yerushalayim, but he was not b'derech rechaika in such a way that he had no way of getting there. This fellow would in fact be chayiv, and that is also learned to the pasuk v'derech lehaya. And now the Gemara is going to introduce a maimer of Rava, and then the Gemara is going to refute this maimer of Rava many times over from a lot of different makaros. But the Gadol, we are talking about the size of the world. Now, it's a little bit complex for us to understand exactly what the size of the world is that Chazal are referring to. What world are we talking to? Planet Earth, or the area that is inhabited in the days of Chazal, that was known to Chazal? And when we talk about the length of the world and the distance of the sun, are we talking about circumference, or are we talking about if it was a straight line? There's a lot of things to figure out here, and there's a lot of science that needs to be worked out. Big adult, but let's just see how the Gemara rolls it out, and I'm sure that there'll be a lot of interesting questions for discussion and Ian on the chat later. Amar Rava says as follows: Shisa alfe parse have alma. This world is 6,000 parsos east to west. That's how Rashi explains here. 6,000 parsos. That is the size of the world. Rashi says, "Hekev hilu chachama b'seichachalo." The distance that the sun travels in space, mimizrach lemarav, from east to west. Now, of course, for our purposes, the sun doesn't travel east to west. the sun is perceived as traveling in the sky from east to west from our perspective on planet Earth. When you look up at the sky, what you see from a Earth-centric perspective is you see the sun traveling through the sky from east to west. That distance of the world that the sun travels through is 6,000 parsos. Okay. The Sukhma de Rakia Alpha Parsi, and the thickness of the Rakia, Rashi says Ovav Shel Rakia, the thickness of the Rakia, and we'll define what that means in a moment, is Alpha Parsi, is 1,000 parsos. Chada Gemara v'chada Svara. One of these things we know as a Gemara, meaning we have a tradition that there's a true v'chada Svara, and one of them is logical. We'll define which is which. Now, before we go on, the Ovav Shel Rakia means the space beyond the horizon that the sun is going to travel through before sunrise. So the space between dawn, where the first beginnings of the rays of the sun begin to appear, to where the sun peaks over the horizon, meaning starts to appear over the horizon. That's called Ovav Shel Rakia, the thickness of the Rakia, because from the perspective of us on planet Earth, so you have the time that the Earth travels through the sky, and then there is the time that the Earth is underneath the sky, so to speak, meaning on the other side of the horizon, but you can still see the rays of the sun on either direction, either growing in the morning or fading in the evening. That's called Ovav Shel Rakia, and the calculation goes as follows. So the Rava Svara, that is a Svara that is logical. Ki hada Amar Rav Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan, he holds like that which Rav Bar Chana says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. How far can a person travel in a day? Yud parsos, that is 10 parsos, which is 40 million. A parsah is 4 million, so a person can travel 40 million in a day. That is the distance that an average person can travel on an average day. And that is me'alas hashachar ad hanetz hachama. And me'alas hashachar ad hanetz hachama is hey million. From alas hashachar until netz hachama, that is 5 million. And mishkias hachama ad seisik v'chavim, 5 million. And from mishkias hachama until seisik v'chavim is another 5 million. Nimtza Ovav Shel Rakia echad neshish b'yam. What comes out from this is that the Ovav Shel Rakia, that the ratio of the thickness of the Rakia to the distance that the sun travels in the day is 1 to 6, meaning that there are 10 parasas that a person is able to travel throughout the day, which is 30 million, and 5 million can be traveled during the period from dawn until sunrise, which means that there is a ratio of 1 to 6 of dawn to sunrise to the rest of the day in terms of the amount that a person can travel, and therefore the amount of travel that the sun can achieve. That is the svara of Rabbah. Meisibe. Now the Gemara is going to reject this. Meisibe Rabbi Yehuda says, firstly, off the bat, we have a contradiction against Rabbah, because the Ovav Shel Rakia, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is not the ratio of 1 to 6 that Rabbah has described, but that the Ovav Shel Rakia is 1/10 of the day. Teda. And we'll explain it as follows. How far can a person walk, an average person walk in an average day? As a parasas, you can walk 10 parasas. Everybody agrees to that. But the amount of time that you can walk from Netzachama, from Alas HaShachar until Netzachama, from dawn until sunrise, is not 5 million, it is 4 million, which is 1 parsa. Mishkia from Shkia until Tzeis, from sunset until nightfall, is another 4 million. It comes out that what you have is, instead, you have these 10 parsas, and 1 parsa can be walked from dawn until sunrise, and 1 parsa can be walked from sunset until nightfall. comes out that the ratio is 1 to 10, which is not what Rava had explained. Tiyufta de Rava, this is Tiyufta de Rava Tiyufta. This is for sure a refutation of Rava. Says the Gemara, oh, hold on a second. Tiyufta de Ula Tiyufta. This is also a refutation of Ula, because Ula was the one that told us that you can walk 5 miles, meaning 5 million, also from Alas Shachar until Hanetzachama. So says the Gemara, maybe this is a tiyufta against Rabbi Yochanan as well. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan, meaning for sure Rava is out, and for sure Ula is out, because Rabbi Yehuda is saying that they're wrong because 4 million is not the same as 5 million. But maybe this is against Rabbi Yochanan as well. Amalach, Rabbi Yochanan will say to you, I only spoke about the average length of the day of a person. I told you that a person can walk 10 parasos in a day. That's all that I've told you. And the Rabbanan messed up. They thought that you could, meaning Rava and Ula, would misunderstand me. I was saying over that which Rabbi Yochanan agrees to, which is 10 parasos in a day. That which Rava said and that which Ula said is against what Rabbi Yehuda says, and I never agreed to that. They thought that you could walk 4 million, that you can walk 5 million from dawn until Hanetz, and from Shkia until Tzeis, that they could walk 5. And the truth is, I agree with the Rabbi Yehuda that you can only walk 4. There's a more limit how you to the Rabbi Chanina. Maybe this is a refutation against Rabbi Chanina as well. Rabbi Chanina had said, how do I know that you can walk 5 million in the morning? Because of the pasuk by Lot, that the pasuk says Vayitza Malachim Balat Limar, that the Malachim pressed Lot and they said, let's get out of here. And Rabbi Chanina said that I saw the space between Sdom and Tsar, and that was 5 million. That was 5 million, and there they walked between dawn and Nates. Says the Gemara, lie. No, that's not a good proof. Vayayitzu shani, because the pasuk specifically there says that the malachim were pushing them, they were rushing them. For sure, the average person on an average day could only walk 4 million, but if you're being rushed to save your life, you could walk a little quicker. So when the pasuk says vayayitzu, that means that they rushed. Maybe that means that the maximum that an average person could go would be 5 million from dawn until Netzachama. But that doesn't tell you anything about the average person on an average day. Tashma. Now we have another brisa as well. The pasuk says as follows. The brisa says, the size of Mitzrayim is 400 parsa by 400 parsa. Mitzrayim echad mi shishim b'kush, and Mitzrayim is only 1/60th the size of Kush. V'kush echad mi shishim ba'olam, and Kush is 1/60th of the size of the world. V'olam, and the world is echad mi shishim b'gan. The world is 1/60th of the size of the gan. Which gan? We're talking about the gan that Hashem put in Eden, right? That Hashem puts a gan in Eden. The gan, and this gan is echad mishishim b'Eden, is only 1/60th of the size of Eden. The Eden echad mishishim b'Gehenim, and Eden is only 1/60th of the size of Gehenim. Nimtzes kala olam kula kikisa kedera leGehenim. It comes out that the entirety of the world as we know it is like the lid of the pot of Gehenim, meaning Gehenim is gigantic, and we are the world as we know it is just the lid of the pot of Gehenim. Now, it's important to point out here that where's the tiyufta here? So the tiyufta, Rashi points out, it comes out that the world is for sure bigger than 6,000 parsos, which is what Rabbah had been telling us, that the world was only 6,000 parsos. And if Kush is 1/60th of the world, so it means that the world is much, much bigger than 6,000 parsos. And that the world is kikisa kedera, that the world is only a cover, it's like a pot cover of Gehenna. So it means that the world is much bigger than we anticipate, according to Rabbah, and that Gehenna is way, 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 way bigger than anything we imagine in the world. Now, it's important to point out that the Gan and the Eden and the Gehenna that we are discussing here, it's a question whether we're talking about physical constructs or spiritual constructs or quasi-physical, quasi-spiritual constructs. The Ramban in Dirshu Adam, when he talks in Shar Gmul, speaks about the fact that there is a Gan Eden HaTachton and a Gehenim HaTachton, which are physically part of this world in some way or another. And that might be accounting for the existence of the giganticness of the universe that is uninhabited, but that Chazal understood that the world is much, much bigger than the physical space of the Yishuv of human beings on earth. But maybe all of that is Gan Eden and Gehenim, and there is a gigantic universe out there. Again, difficult to understand exactly what Chazal are referring to here, and it's very clear that what they are explaining here is not only physical realities, but nevertheless, this is a tiyufta against Rava, and that is what the Gemara says. Tiyufta, this is for sure against what Rava had explained. Tashma, we have another brisa that says as follows: the time of the Eliyahu, brisa that was taught in the house of Eliyahu, there's a machlekes whether or not this Eliyahu is Eliyahu Navi, or this Eliyahu is a Tana by the name of Eliyahu. But either which way, we have brises of the time of the Eliyahu, with Eliyahu Rabban and Eliyahu Zuta, but question exactly who the Eliyahu is here. Nevertheless, Rav Nosson says, Kol hayishuv kulei tachas kochav echad yoshev, that the entirety of the world is under one star. What does that mean? That the whole world, that the whole inhabited world is under one star. So this is a empirical proof. What is the proof? Teda, you should know, Shari Adam Nason Ina Bekochav Echad. If a person looks up at the night sky and sees a star, Halech leMizrach, and he goes as far as he can to the east, Omid Kenegdo, he can still see that star. And this is true in every direction in the world. You go 4 directions of the world, and you will always be able to see the same stars, right? Now, this is not true in the southern hemisphere, but Chazal does not include the southern hemisphere in the Yishuv. That was not that was not included in the Yishuv that Chazal were describing. So Omen Kenegda, you'll still be able to see that star on top of you. It comes out that the entirety of the world is under one star. And if that would be true, so what is the tiyufta here? So Rashi points out here, how many stars are there in the sky? And we know that the Yishuv that we are dwelling in, that we are situated in, is for sure more than 1,000 parsas. Meaning we know that the inhabited world is more than 1,000 parsas because we've walked the inhabited part of the world. So there are so many stars in the sky. And if there were only 6 stars in the sky that you could see in 6 different locations, so maybe you would say that there's only 6,000 parsas in the world. But all of the Yishuv is that we know of in the days of Chadal, the furthest distance that anybody had traveled was for sure more than 1,000 parsas, and you could still see the same stars in the sky. That means that the world as we know it, meaning that's not just the Yishuv, is way bigger than 6,000 parsas. Tiyufta, and this is another refutation of Rava. Tashma, we have a brisa that says as follows. This is the talking about astrology and constellations, also placements of stars in the sky. Agala B'Tzafon, the Agala is in the north. Agala is the calf, which is the Taurus, is in the north. The Akrab and Scorpio is in the south. The Agala B'Tzafon, Egla B'Tzafon. The Akrab B'Darim, and the Akrab is in the south. V'chala Yishuv Kulei Eni Yoshev Ela Ben Egla L'Akrab, and the entirety of the Yishuv, meaning all of human settlement, is between Taurus and Scorpio, meaning those are the constellations in the furthest north and furthest south. V'chala Yishuv Kulei Eni Hava Ela Shah Achas B'Yom. And the entirety of the inhabited world is only 1 hour of the day, meaning it takes the sun only 1 hour to travel throughout the entirety of the Yishuv. How do you know? Because the sun is only standing on top of human inhabitation for 1 hour in the day. How do you know that? Teda, because you know that in the 5th hour of the day, the sun is to your east. And in the 7th hour of the day, the sun is to your west. Halfway through the 6th hour and halfway through the 7th hour, the sun is standing on top of everybody. Meaning the sun is in your slice of the world for that 1 hour. Which means that when it's in the west, it's on top of those areas. And when it's in the east, it's on top of those areas. But where is it directly on top of you? It's directly on top of you for 1 hour of the day from 11:30 to 12:30, 11:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. That is when the sun is directly on top of every person. And therefore, that 1 hour of the day that the sun travels is, and the Yishuv, as we pointed out, is bigger than 1,000 parsas, for sure bigger than 1,000 parsas, says Rashi, and therefore the world is for sure bigger than 6,000 parsas. And therefore, Tiyufta, this is another refutation of Rava. Tashma, come along in here. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Ma tshuva shivasai baskal Rasha. What was the response? What was the answer that the baskal, that the heavenly voice said to Nebuchadnezzar, the Rasha? B'shasha Amar, at the point that he said, I'll climb up to I'll rise up to the highest of the clouds. Edmet la'elyon, I will be like the Most High, meaning I will compare myself to Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is the pasuk in Yeshayahu. Yatsa Baskal v'amralai, the Baskal came out and said, Rasha ben Rasha, wicked man, the son of a wicked man, turning over to Tali Dalad ben Beis, Ben Benoshel Nimrod Harasha, the grandson of Nimrod Harasha, the grandson of Nimrod Harasha, Himrid es kol ha'olam kulai, but Malchusa, that made the whole world turn against Hashem in the days of his kingdom. How long does a person live? Shivim Shana. A person lives 70 years. Pasuk in Tilim. If you're strong, you live 80 years. If you're strong, you live 80 years. 70 to 80 years, that's what you get. Min ha'aretz adler akia, from the land until the sky. Mahalech chamish ma'ashana. It's 500 years journeying from the land to the sky. Va'ovav shel rakia, and the thickness of the sky. Mahalech chamish ma'ashana is the length of another 500 years. Uvein kol rakia, uvein rakia l'rakia, and between each rakia, between each of the firmaments, each of the skies, Ma'alach Chamesh Ma'ashana is another 500 years. Ubein Kol Rakia L'Rakia, and V'chein Bein Kol Rakia L'Rakia, and the distance between each Rakia, meaning the thickness of each Rakia is 500 years, and the thickness of the space between each of the Rakias is another 500 years. Ach El She'ol Turad El Yarkizei Bar, and yet you are going to be brought down to hell, to the depths of the pits. Meaning, there's millions of years of journey between from the area that we are in to the area that Kodesh Baruch Hu is in. Meaning there are 7 rikiyas, which is what the Gemara explains in Maseches Chagiga, and the areas between them are each 500 years of journeying, and yet Nebuchadnezzar, you're going to be going down even to the depths way below all of that. Tiyufta, and this is a ironclad Tiyufta for against Rava once again, that the world is way bigger than 6,000 parsas end to end. We should just point out here that these 7 rakiyas and the spaces of 500 years in between them gives you 15 times 500, which is the reference to the Va'es Chanan, the 515 tefillas that Moshe Rabbeinu offered to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he was going through all of the tefillas, meaning his tefillas were going through all of the Rekiyin, in order to get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that would be also corresponding to the 15 stages of the steps in the Beis Hamikdash, of the Shir Amalas, the steps in the Beis Hamikdash, and the 15 praises that we have for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Emes V'Yatzav V'Nachon, that there are 15 steps over there. Those are all references to the 7 worlds and the 6 and the spaces in between them, meaning from Earth until the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever that means, that are 15 stages, each of them being 500 years. And of course, none of this is certainly exclusively talking physically. It is, at the very least, also talking spiritually. And I suppose this gives us a lot of homework for the Ian. We'll see you later this evening for the next installment. And looking forward to seeing everybody then.